No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible. Prior to Abraham Lincoln, the government in this country said it was legal to hold Africans in slavery in perpetuity. Perpetuity is one of the University of Chicago words. That means forever. From now on. When Lincoln got in office, the government changed. Prior to the passing of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution, the government defined Africans as slaves, as property, people with no rights to be respected by any whites anywhere. The Supreme Court of the government, same court, granddaddy court of the one that stole the 2000 election, Supreme Court said in its Dred Scott decision in the 1850s, no African anywhere in this country has any rights that any white person has to respect at any place, anytime. That was the government's official position, backed up by the Supreme Court, that's the president, backed up by the legislative branch, and enforced by the military of the government. But I stopped by to tell you tonight that governments changed. Prior to Harry Truman's government, the military in this country was segregated. But governments changed prior to the civil rights and equal accommodations laws of the government in this country. There was back segregation by the country, legal discrimination by the government, prohibited blacks from voting by the government. You had to eat in separate places by the government. You had to sit in different places from white folks because the government said so. And you had to be buried in a separate cemetery. It was apartheid American style from the cradle to the grave, all because the government backed it up. But guess what? Oh, the government's changed. The election was stolen. We went from an intelligent friend to a dumb Dixiecrat, a rich Republican who has never held a job in his life, is against affirmative action, against education, I guess he is, against health care, against benefits for his own military, and gives tax breaks to the wealthiest contributors to his campaign. Governments change, sometimes for the good and sometimes for the bad. But I'm fitting to help you again. Turn back and say, he's fitting to help us again. Where governments change, write this down, Malachi 3:6. Malachi 3:6, thus saith the Lord. Repeat it after me. For I am the Lord, and I change not. That's the King James Version. The New Revised says, for I, the Lord, do not change. In other words, where governments change, God does not change. God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. That's what his name, I am, means, you know. He does not change. There is no shadow of turning in God. One songwriter puts it this way, as thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Thou changest not. Thy compassions, they fail not. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. God does not change. God was against slavery on yesterday, and God, who does not change, is still against slavery today. God was a God of love yesterday, and God, who does not change, is still a God of love today. God was a God of justice on yesterday, and God, who does not change, is still a God of justice today. Turn to your neighbor and say, God does not change. Where governments lie, God does not lie. Where governments change, God does not change. And I'm through now. But let me leave you with one more thing. Governments fail. The government in this text, comprised of Caesar, Quirinius, Pontius Pilate, Pontius Pilate. The Roman government failed. The British government used to rule from east to west. The British government had a Union Jack. She colonized Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, and Hong Kong. Her navies ruled the 7 seas all the way down to the tip of Argentina in the Falklands. But the British government failed. The Russian government failed. The Japanese government failed. The German government failed. And the United States of America government when it came to treating her citizens of Indian descent fairly, she failed. She put them on reservations. When it came to treating her citizens of Japanese descent fairly, she failed. She put them in internment prison camps. When it came to treating the citizens of African descent fairly, America failed. She put them in chains. The government put them on slave quarters, put them on auction blocks, put them in cotton fields, put them in inferior schools, put them in substandard housing, put them in scientific experiments, put them in the lowest paying jobs, put them outside the equal protection of the law, kept them out of their racist bastions of higher education, and locked them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a three-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America that's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating her citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme. The United States government has failed the vast majority of her citizens of African descent.
Most people, how many of this room have ever talked to Louis Farrakhan? 3 people. We form an opinion about him based on what the press says. And the press lies. They lie on me. They lie on me, so I know they lie on him. And I don't try to defend what statements he made 10, 15 years ago. Neither does he. And the official apologies, how many of those apologies made the news up here? Of course, that doesn't sell newspapers. Okay. You give me your email address, I'll get them to you. But that doesn't get reported. So that in terms of how I respond to that, it's just, have you talked to him? Have you talked to the Jewish rabbis who have understood and heard what he had to say? And talk about women. Where Muslims are in terms of women inferiority, I got a problem with that. That don't mean I don't talk to you or I draw lines in the sand and because you got this thing about women in ministry. I have women pastors. Now, I know he has a thing about women, or not he the person, but Islam does. And the nation of Islam in terms of not Sunni, not Shia, we're talking about the nation of Islam. But because we disagree on topics does not mean I stop dialogue with him. Or that we lose friendship because we differ and disagree over a subject. Even vehemently, and I share with one of the classes today, Tony Campolo's point about how husband and wife can disagree vehemently on an issue, but they don't get divorced because they disagree. But you keep talking and the dialogue continues to go, so that in terms of things I know about him, the average person does not know about him. The person, I'm talking about the person, and what his beliefs are, and how his beliefs have changed and evolved. And knowing him as I have for 30-some years now, I'm not going to let somebody else tell me that he can't be somebody who's a colleague of mine, all right? Any more so than Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. Now, the press makes certain people radioactive, toxic. Just call the name and you got problems. The only thing I said that is a direct quote 2 years ago is that when Louis Farrakhan speaks, Black America listens. They don't always agree with him, but they listen. Just like E.F. Hutton speaks. And I asked Dr. Day, name for me any American, black, white, Hispanic, or Asian, that can get 1 million people on the Washington Mall. Ain't none. Dr. King only got 250,000. That the man has the ear of African Americans. Now, 1 million people did not convert to the Nation of Islam.